So
Okay.
we are in a Industry 5.0 talk with José de Souza, and we are discussing a lot of topics which we would like to share with everyone. And we will continue in our discussion. Right? We are speaking about the fear as waste. And this is a topic which is very interesting.
And the fear as a waste, a complete waste of potential, both in our personal lives and in our professional lives. And this is also connected with, of course, mental health later. But let's focus now on fear and how it's used in organizations sometimes to drive people to do or not do some things, which many times are beneficial to them. And they don't understand that they are being driven by external forces unknown to them, that they are at play in organizations. So if you want to favor someone to be promoted, and there is a strong candidate elsewhere, but you want to favor your yes man, for instance, what can you do? You start injecting between commas some fear to the other competitor to be promoted. You boycott them in a subliminal way. And this is how these things happen, in a subliminal way. And when there's fear, there is no trust, as I was showing here. So on the flip side of fear, of course, there's courage. On the other side of the coin, there's courage. But also, if you trust, you are not afraid. You trust yourself, you trust the environment, you trust other people, and you can more easily put your brain at peace, not at rest, but at peace, at least minimize the over-excitement of the limbic system, which drives the reactions to fear. And when you are in an overexcited amygdala and limbic system, you immediately go into survival reactions, instinctively, non-controlledly, in microseconds. Why? Because the main reason or the main purpose of the brain is to keep us alive. It's not to go after a reward. It's not to chase a promotion or something. That's secondary, okay? And what happens is, in the face of social interactions and relationships and social environments, our brain and our amygdala reacts the same way to real or perceived dangers, threats to life, like a physical threat to life, activates the brain in some regions, okay? A social threat, real or perceived, I mean, fabricated by us or created by us because of something else that we have in our circuits, the area of the brain that lights up, it's the same, okay? There's no real danger if I start screaming at you now. But immediately your brain, boom, lights up the limbic system. And you, by default, in microseconds, cortisol, adrenaline, rush completely in your system, okay? And this is a way to waste potential in organizations on purpose sometimes, and many times even the person doing this, driven by its ego or its ideas or whatever, protecting someone else, as I mentioned before, sometimes it's even not perceived by the person doing this, okay? Which is even more curious, I would say.
I have, because as you speak about it, it came to to my mind immediately the core task management, the difference between core task management and multitasking. Multitasking, everybody knows. Core task management is my child again. I develop it for me to work more efficiently. And but I never saw at it from the perspective of fear or from the perspective of time. And just now, to explain the difference between multitasking and core task management, why I develop it for me. Sure. I was all the time a multitasker. Even as a child, I have to listen to the radio because there was no internet, read a book, and then I can learn. I need at least 3 together to be able to learn one, so to concentrate on one. Yeah. And I keep this for a long time. So I was really quite a good multitasker. But in early 40s, I was not so efficient anymore. The computers has been better. We get the mobile phones, we get everything. So I was not so comfortable anymore. And I feel inside that I cannot do so much work. So I start searching, because internet was available. I start searching for some methodology, how to change the way I am working. And I didn't find anything. And if I face such a situation, I develop it for myself. I don't wait for solutions, someone to introduce. I did it by myself. So, and I call it core task management. The difference, and I discovered very interesting difference. And just now we are somehow close to the fear topic. The issue of core task management is that generally you are never finished. If you finish one task, then your brain says to you, when you would like to say, yes, I did, the brain says, sorry, this is waiting.
There's another one, there's the next one.
So you never get this adrenaline push, which you just mentioned. But in a core task management, I make something very strange, and people say it cannot work, but it works. I make my task very short, so you can fulfill them almost immediately. So every task which you fulfill, you have the victory feeling, and there came the next victory and the next one. So generally, I recharge myself during the days by permanent victories. There are some systems that it cannot be in line and so on. It's something else. But as you spoke about the fear right now, it looks like that the fear is like this short impulse, which unfortunately leave a long tail behind, because you tremble, then you somehow stop trembling, but still you will thinking about it. And it's something like one task from multitasking with a long tail behind. Then you put the next fear on it, because fear is connecting to other fear. That's one of those things. If there is a war, you fear on your life, then you fear on the life of your children and your house and so on. And it's a big line of fear. And the question whether we can change this style, as I did with the multitasking, whether we can turn the fear into something which will recharge us generally. I cannot answer this. That's just a question maybe for the author of this book or someone else who really is in a psychology and in a neuroscience. But as you said, this victory, it immediately came to me, this very different style, why I can work 14 hours a day and still recharging permanently. So quite interesting, Jose, quite interesting.
Well, you mentioned something here very important, which is to break down the tasks into a very minimal level where you can almost cannot boycott yourself by not doing them, because, and you know what happens when you mention these victories, they also release in your brain something really important, dopamine, the hormone of satisfaction. That's very addictive, and that is used by these kind of companies and social networks and all those to keep you addicted. So you created a way and found a way to addict yourself to the dopamine rush in a good way, in a positive, useful way, okay? And that is probably something we can start using if you start to share what you are doing with others, even if they are in a kind of a fear mode overall, because fear puts you with a sense of loss of control as well. You lose self-control. And when you are in doing what you are doing with these micro mini tasks, you are perfectly in control of them. So eventually that could be something that can be used, but you're right, asking the author of this book to talk with us. And I said to you, I have a connection with him. I don't speak with him for some years, but I'm sure it will be more or less easy. And this is also connected with, he mentions about energy. You touch this as well, to recharge yourself. And when you are subject to fear, your stress levels increase a lot. You drain much more energy than you can generate or regenerate. And people are afraid. They stay on the computers for huge hours, number of hours. They drag themselves to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 a.m. Well, this Monday, I was having a conversation with a potential client. Monday, okay? She arrived a bit late to the meeting. And she said, well, sorry, I'm having issues with my computer. It's probably because it stayed on until 2 a.m. on a Sunday. So I was working until 2 a.m. on a Sunday. And later I asked her, so besides the goal you want to have in your, let's say, professional life and execution of your goal, how are you dealing with the long hours, your work-life balance, your family relationships? And the person, boom, it was like a powerful question that hit the bullseye. Boom. People go into that mode of execution. I have to do this. I have to get promoted. I have to appear that I'm doing a great job and control everything. Hundreds of hours in meetings every month. Permanent from 8 to 12 full meetings. Lots of emails, lots of Teams chat and the other platform, I don't remember now, with lots of notifications. How can you work? Of course you have to work overtime. But who teaches people first to deal with emails, how to deal with their energy, how to deal with meetings? How many meetings are you in that are a complete waste of time and energy, not only for you? There is no agenda. There is no one checking the time. There is no one checking after the meeting the implementations or the follow-up actions. And the next meeting in the next week is the same mess as it was this one. So it's a complete waste in a lot of sense. And so energy, fear are also connected in some way. Because if you stay seated long hours, being seated is very tiring and people don't understand it. So especially because you are facing a screen that is draining and making you tired, mental fatigue, but also visual fatigue. Okay, and I tell my clients and ask them, how many pauses or breaks do you do during your mornings? And what for? And what do you do on those breaks? Many of them, well, I just stand up to go and have lunch. I mean, and of course, working overtime and with this behavior for months, people start to go into a very tiring mode that starts to burn them out, which is, of course, again, a complete waste of potential. So there is a lot of things around fear that are a consequence. And then, of course, you start failing in your performance as well. And if you start failing in your performance, what may happen?
You have more fear, even. You generate more fear at the end.
Yes. How can you focus? No focus. And you start to be eventually dumped or wasted because, sorry, you do not perform, bye-bye. And as you know, a huge competition of people, if you dump someone, you pay 1,000 euros, you can hire the next one for 500. And even that argument sometimes is used to inject fear on people. If you don't perform, there are 3 or 4 I can put in your place paying half of I pay you. What's this?
It is so, and I am really happy that you opened this fear question, because as Industry 5.0 deal with waste, and you name it so nicely, waste is fear. This is why immediately it really click, and I am so happy about this discussion, because all what you mentioned, of course, I have it in my life as well. I was overworked when I was 21. I slept in work. There was no fear. I just enjoy my work, but there was no limit. It was the same like with the mobile phone. You do not stop until the battery is drained. Yeah. And then you are, I don't have my mobile phone in my head. You are very nervous and so on. So, but you are right. And it will be very interesting, really, to find a cure. How I found a cure for the professional blindness. Generally, it's quite easy. First is the open, generally the wake-up call. As you said, if you ask the right question, the people will say, wow, I never thought about it. This is one thing. But if you give a wake-up call and you do not provide any solution, the first what you do, you will go to sleep again, because this is the first instinct. What do you do in the morning? If the alarm sounds, you shut it down and you say, exactly, okay, 5 more minutes. This is what generally Greta did. I have nothing against her. She did a great work at the beginning. She wake up. The people did not listen to me. They listened to her. It's fine. But the issue with her is that he does not have the experience to provide a tool. And just now he is for 189th time on Friday standing in front of some building with a sign where change just the number. And I try to offer her, join us. I will show you what is the next step. But, you know, you cannot communicate with her. She is sheltered. But in organizations, it's very
Bring
simple.
her to speak with me. Tell her to speak with me.
That's generally, speaking about her, you cannot reach her because all her profiles are managed by someone else generally. So it is almost impossible. But when I would like to speak about the organization point of view, you are all what you mentioned is, I think, in almost every organization which I work in before. There are very few which does not have it in this form, but they have it somehow hidden as well. And it will be very interesting to have it as a part of Industry 5.0 to really add this, because you mentioned it as well. You connect it to social waste. It's correct. And generally, it's connected to process waste. So these two wastes are connected to fear. The urban waste and physical waste not, but at least 50% of our, generally, of our 4 categories are covered or are influenced by fear, which is a very interesting topic. And if you would like to be the specialist for it, I would like to have someone, because I do not have my brain capacity and the knowledge which is needed. No.
Of course.
I have my brain
I understand. Of course. You are more with logistics, process, transportation, etc.
I am the crazy guy behind, so I need to say it, because otherwise I will be. Of course. The system will be lost.
And you need to delegate to specialists or to a bit of experts in some areas. And you mentioned something really important. And let's I guess we can name organizations because they need to start acting differently. For instance, why do organizations dump new products? Even Amazon, a colleague of mine from the UK sent me a shocking article published in a UK newspaper about iPads, televisions, computers. They dump it.
I know.
They put it to trash, they shred it. I mean, if you don't use them, at least give them to NGOs or people that have the need. And why? Because of the fear that this is eventually a bit obsolete, a bit obsolete, and you are selling a product that is not the new one, the new version.
No,
people will not buy.
Generally, this is not connected to this issue. I deal with Amazon for a long time and with the others. Generally, their intention, why they do it, is very simple. They fear that if they sell it cheaper, that they will get rid of the huge profit which they have. But they do not understand, and you will understand this for sure. I collect within my 30 years of experience. I call it logistic paradoxes, and one of these paradox is less is more.
Exactly, increases the value. If you have less products, you can sell for an higher price. It's economy. It's demand and supply.
But this is what generally these people misunderstood and try to change it. Like if we take recycling, everybody thinks recycling is great. The idea was great, nothing against it. But in fact, in the hands of waste industry, recycling is the biggest lie which you can face, because you do not recycle if you put something in a yellow bin. But the users, the end users, consider I am recycling, but it's not true. What he or she does is sorting the waste. But from sorting to recycling,
there's a huge way out. It's a huge way.
Our government in my country, in Czech Republic, says that generally 92% of our material, our waste is recycled. The reality in my country, so they say 92, the reality is below 12. So you have 80%, because they say it's recycling, but generally it is sorting. And again, nothing against sorting, but right now in the UK, as you mentioned before, in the UK, in the years of recycling, this is about 30 years when it started, the volume of municipal waste increased by 80%. Because again, the waste industry play quite a nice game with the psychology. If I will put 2 garbage bins in your room, you will fill them. If I put 3, you will fill them because they are close to you. But if I leave only one will be enough. But right now we have blue, green, yellow, whatever, long cranes of bins. And what we do, we fill them because we do not want to have them empty because we pay them and so on. So we fill them. So this is the psychology. They really use the psychology. Same for the carbon emission trading, which is in my eyes, the biggest crime against the planet which ever existed. And
it's like the Inquisition in the medieval ages. Exactly. If you pay, your sins are covered. I mean, what's this?
I use exactly the same wording. Generally, you prepay your evil. But I have the opportunity to meet 3 years ago. There was a big conference for the students of psychology, international conference, and they invited me as a speaker. Until now, I don't know whether as a patient, so I don't know. I stay on the stage. I have fun there. It was great. And it was coincident, but there was a guy who was invited to co-create the Kyoto Protocol, generally the carbon emission trading. He was a psychologist professor. And he said to me in private generally. He said, I was asked to put the psychology behind that everybody thinks that this is an ecological tool, which I did. So everybody thinks that CO2 trading is an ecology. No, it has nothing to do with ecology. It's just economical tool.
It's just business.
Generally. And business with virtual money, there the smoke does not move from one chimney to other. You just virtually move it. And when I try to, when I speak about it with all the impact lawyers, which I met online on LinkedIn, and you know I meet a lot of people, not a single one was able to, is ready to face United Nations, all governments of the world, because they are supporting this crime. Not a single one. They call themselves impact lawyers, but they fear to make the step again. So this is why I started from the bottom. Let's wake up the people and give people the right tools. Let's add to these tools the tool against the fear. Let's put it, and then
exactly
people on the top the same tools. Don't let anyone misuse fear to have the power against others.
Exactly.
Because fear is waste, as you name it. I name war is waste. And we are unfortunately living in a time when the war industry is the most profitable industry in the world, which nobody speaks about because you do not have the number. Everything is secret, but it is. Second is crude oil, and the third one is waste industry. Crude oil is in troubles. Everybody knows it. So if crude oil will go away, we will live on a planet where war and waste are the most profitable businesses in the world. One generate the other, the generate the first. So that's such a unpleasant image for me that I will do everything what is in my what I can do to prevent this happen. This is why I'm building, this is why we are speaking, this is why the network is growing, because wasteless world is the only aim. And I thank you that you add the fear between the wastes, because everything what we can prevent to happen generally is a waste. And fear we can prevent to happen. We can live like people. We should not live in a fear. Even, you know, I spoke yesterday and today with the ambassador in Ukraine, with Nikolai. You know, it was very emotionally for me.
I imagine.
He's close, he's living there, he's close to 60. He lost his home, everything. But I was so surprised about the power and his trust, because he knows he is not in an army or so, but he knows that his heart is with his land and with his country, and he is protecting his country. And we start already yesterday to speak about the reconstruction, to rebuild the country. And you know very well yourself that in Industry 5.0, I have started on January 1st. So 2 months or almost 3 months before the war began, I started Project 17, Global Recovery Project. And we can apply it right now to Ukraine recovery. Because you mentioned at the very beginning, all the tools are here. We just don't use them the right way. We use the rice cooker only to cook the rice, but we can do soup. We can do a lot of in a rice cooker. Why should I use it only as to cooking the rice? Because the producer call it rice cooker. No, he should call it universal cooker. That will be.
Marketing.
Marketing is
numbers, profits.
But everything these can be broken down by the right approach. If you wake the people, and it's easy to wake them up, but then hard part is to give them the tools. And just now, it will be probably your part or somebody's together.
That's the challenge, and the, let's say, even I just imagine a title of a book or a talk or whatever, like connected with the Da Vinci Code. So we are missing the code, the fear code. Let's say. Maybe it's a great title.
It's a good one.
Fear code.
It's a good one. Just please be aware, we will be streaming this live, not live, but we will record it and we will give it to everyone. So be fast if you would like to patent it, or at least write something about it like me. Then it will be your intellectual property, like Industry 5.0 post for me. I am not able to cut it out because I don't know how to work with this cutting tool.
No, don't worry. It's my contribution to the world. If the fear level reduces, everybody in the world will have a much better life.
That will be really, that's great aim. And as I said, I will support you. I do not want your brain in my head. I have my own, and it will not help. But I will do what I can, and I'm sure everyone in the network, to support, because everyone can imagine, and this is the same with the wasteless world. Everyone can imagine how the wasteless world will look like. I don't tell you how it will look like, but I know the sun shining will be there, the clean water will be there, and
the
smiling faces.
The sky, no smog, no pollution.
Exactly. And smiling faces of people which you love around you. That's a wasteless world. There can be more, but these three will be there. And the same power, I think, has, if we say, a fearless world. But it's a tricky thing, because you know, and we spoke before, fear for some I do not want to say the word purpose, but it is
some situation. For some situations, it's even needed. It's even needed.
Yeah, because it's like instinct. Part of the instinct is fear. That's correct. But we have to prevent the way of misusing the fear to gain over others. Let's call it so. Just now we are in a working phase of definition, but I think something similar like this should be the part.
Yeah, and so this book has even here about 7 pages about a fear-free organization, which I said I have the book. So instead of reading everything, I will initially focus on the last chapter, which is the solution, the codes, let's say. And if you agree, if it makes sense, Michael, I can contact Paul Brown and ask him his availability for us to have a 3-party conversation about expanding on what we talked today, because he knows much more than me. And I don't want to even just say things which are common sense, but that are not backed up by science. And Paul Brown has this backed up by science. So it's a much stronger case.
I am for that. I am discussing every Wednesday. I have a US discussion 1 hour, and there is a writer, futurist generally. So I am meeting regularly people like this, and it's big support for the development for all of us. So everybody in the discussion, because we are not just listening to the other one. All the time we are having same discussion like us, 2 of us right now. Because this is what enrich all of us. And if we stream it, it enrich everyone. And that's great. That's great. You know, you may be the, I don't know, Leonardo da Vinci maybe, because you have more hair than me. I will be Fantomas probably. So because I do not have so much on my head anymore.
It can grow, okay? If you put good seeds in yourself, the hair will grow again.
You know, it's not important for me, so.
I understand.
It's a way, it's funny, and it's so, but, you know, Jose, it's this topic which we just now discussed, it's really, really very important one. And if we can have a discussion with him, and if we can welcome then more and more people, because I am sure this topic will resonate exactly the same, especially if we put it in the perspective of the Industry 5.0, because it's waste. It's great. So thank you for the idea, because you name it right. Fear is waste, and we can prevent it to happen.
Yes. Okay, so we have two other topics to talk about. I don't know if you have time, but we can stop the recording